Last night, the Golden State Warriors defeated the San Antonio Spurs 109 to 108. I have to say, as a Spurs fan, this game was infuriating to watch. I was clenching my teeth with rage during some moments of this game. It was just very frustrating. This was the second game in 3 nights that the Spurs lost to the Warriors, and it was very similar to the first game the Spurs lost to the Warriors in the sense that Spurs got a lead, but they couldn't maintain it, and the Warriors were able to eke out this victory, just like the first one, due to a combination of gritty defense and Curry just going supernova. Curry had a 49-point game in this win, and the other night he had over 40 points. So he's torched the Spurs twice for 40 plus. One thing I'll say is the Warriors were able to get these wins, but I don't think it's really positive for the Warriors in the sense going forward because this team is not that good. I know people are going to say, well, you're just a hater because your Spurs lost. But when I'm looking at this Warriors team is really not that good. They're not a title contender. They can beat a team like the Spurs, mainly due to the Spurs being young and inexperienced. They can use their veteran tricks to win these types of games. But they're not a title contender because they need Stephen Curry to score like 40 plus games to win these types of games against just the young and experienced teams that they won't be able to do this stuff against a contender like OKC in a 7 game series or the Nuggets. And then you look at their depth, they don't really have much of it. I know people will say that Kuminga didn't play last night, but when you look at their roster, this is not really a good team outside of Curry and Jimmy Butler on the offensive end. You look at these guys like Moses Moody is not really consistent. Um, you look at just even a solid player they have in Pods. He's like all right, but they don't really have a legit third star who can carry the scoring load outside of Curry and Butler like they did on their previous championship teams. When you look at the past, they had Clay being the third guy on the second and third championship team, and then on the fourth one, Jordan Poole was like that third guy that could shoulder the load. So they don't have a legit third scorer, and their role players are mediocre and inconsistent. You look at them; they're just not that good. Granted, they'll still get in the playoffs due to having Curry. Curry can still have these turn back the clock games, but it won't be good enough for a contending team that can just curb stomp them and won't be faced when Curry's going off like the Spurs were in this game. But back to this game, that there were some moments that stood out to me in this game. Obviously, the one moment that stands out is the one that's been viral all over the internet the last 24 hours is that play where Victor Wembanyama dunked the ball on Draymond, got it from an out of bounds pass. What really pissed me off about it, and what a lot of people don't realize, and I could tell they didn't watch this game, was after Victor got that dunk on Draymond, these fucking refs did not count the dunk. How the fuck does that not count? They were ruling it that it didn't count because he was fouled before the dunk. You're going to call a fucking foul before that? Like, get the fuck out of here. I just feel this was just another pathetic attempt by the refs to protect Draymond. I've said this for years that Draymond is protected by these refs, that Silver instructs them to protect Draymond at all costs. And some people would say, like, why is that? Well, because Draymond is part of the Curry marketing machine in the sense that Curry benefits from Draymond's dirty play and all the dirty tactics that he pulls. It helps Curry. So it's like a symbiotic relationship where Curry needs Draymond and Draymond needs Curry, and hence why Silver is determined to protect him. That just pissed me off. Such fucking horseshit that it didn't count. So, but it wasn't the reason why the Spurs lost that game, since it happened, I think, in the third quarter of that play. But still very infuriating that you're not gonna count that. I thought coach Mitch Robinson, I forget his name. I know it's embarrassing. Mitch Johnson. I mix him up with the basketball player. Coach Mitch Johnson, made a mistake as a rookie head coach in the sense that he didn't challenge that. I thought he should have challenged it and they would have won. Instead, he made a bad challenge towards the end of the game, which he challenged a offensive foul. I think it was on Devin Vassell when unfortunately it was a legit call. So that hurt the Spurs in the final 2 minutes. But yeah, that pissed me off how they didn't count that. They should have counted it. But to me, it was just funny how Draymond went psycho in this game simply because he couldn't score on Victor. Like, I'm like, what the fuck are you thinking, Draymond? You think that you can score on Victor 101? There were quite a few times where Draymond tried to ISO Victor and score on him, and he got swatted quite a few times, which was hysterical. He also got offensive fouls. To me, that really was a reflection of Draymond, who he is, in the sense that he is a role player, but he has like the ego of like a LeBron, where he thinks he's like a superstar or one of the all-time greats when he's clearly not. But I think that's what was driving him nuts, that he actually believed in his delusional mind that he could take Victor one-on-one, and Victor punked him quite a few times when he tried to score on Victor. He got embarrassed, he got emotional, he threw temper tantrums, and then decided to play Victor dirty, and Victor dunks on him. So that led up to that heated confrontation. Easily my most hated player, not just in current NBA, of all time. Just an insufferable player, one of those guys. I will be very happy when he's retired. Kind of like Horace Grant back in the early 90s when Bill Laimbeer retired. Everybody was happy to see him go away. Draymond's definitely like that in my eyes. So, but the way this game was played, I would say the Spurs really showed their inexperience in the fourth quarter when they had built a 10-point lead and they just couldn't maintain it. Like, the Warriors got desperate. They started playing zone defense. And this is where I would say one of the flaws of Victor's game, why I don't think he can be as good as Tim Duncan. I know some people say that's controversial, but hear me out on this. That the Warriors started playing his own defense, and he couldn't really take advantage of that, especially with the Warriors being an undersized team. There's just no way, even when Tim Duncan was old, the team could play his own defense against him with a bunch of undersized guys, and they wouldn't pay the price. Tim would easily post you up on the baseline area, score at will, and break the zone, and that would be the end of the story. I think that it was one of the big reasons why the Steve Nash Suns could never beat the Spurs, is because they couldn't get away playing an undersized team against Tim Duncan without feeling the pain in the post. Victor doesn't really have that ability to post up guys and back them down despite great gaining strength. Unfortunately, I think this has been revealed the last several games when teams have muscled him, that he's still a great player. I would say he still can score on you in a variety of ways, but he doesn't have a post-up game. And I think in the final minutes of the game, that really showed, because he had no go-to move to turn to. He did get a few tip-ins, but that was one thing that Tim Duncan had, that when in trouble, the Spurs could isolate him in the clutch on the baseline area, and he would post up or score, or he would get double and triple teamed, and he could find the open man for the easy bucket. Victor doesn't really have that in his arsenal. One thing I would say is he has to work at getting a better mid-range shot, because there's one play in the final minute or two of the game where he managed to get open for an easy open mid-range shot, and he bricked it. If he had hit that shot, I believe the Spurs could have won this game. But I'm not blaming this loss solely on him. So many other things happened. But just going back to the zone, the Warriors played the zone defense. Spurs could not score for a long period of time. They got back in the game, and eventually they were able to win the game by one. I think the maddening thing about it was the Warriors really relied heavily on Curry to get back in this game in the fourth quarter. He hit a flurry of threes, a bunch of threes. And I'm not going to blame Spurs solely for him going off. It just happens. And I think there were some fluky shots by Gary Payton, too, that helped them win this game in the fourth. That Gary Payton, too, is a horrible three-point shooter. He's shooting 20% for the season, and he hit two bullshit open threes. I think that were just generated from all the attention Curry got. Those two threes are very crucial. So that was frustrating, and I felt the Spurs just made some stupid turnovers, especially De'Aaron Fox in the fourth quarter, and he's a veteran. Like, I was like, what was he thinking? Just going back to De'Aaron Fox, man, like, what the fuck was going on with this guy in the final minute or two of the game? He took a lot of dumb shots, and even the final shot, to me, that was another rookie mistake by Coach Mitch Johnson by having De'Aaron Fox pull up for the final shot of the game. And it was a contested pull up where I thought he should have passed or tried to drive to the hole and create something for either Victor or somebody else from the defenders he could suck in. To me, that was just a terrible play where they isolated De'Aaron like he was going to be Michael Jordan or Kobe or somebody in the one-on-one ISO. Like, I don't get it. So this was a frustrating game, and it was like the typical game the Warriors win. We've seen this the last few years in the playoffs where they face the Grizzlies, Kings, or Rockets, where they face a young, talented team, and the game is close. They are able to outsmart the inexperienced team with their higher basketball IQ and veteran savvy, combination of dirty plays from Draymond, and Curry just going nuclear for like a 40 plus or 50-point game to save them, and they barely eke it out and win. Like I said, this works against young, inexperienced teams, but it doesn't work against title contenders, which is why I just don't see the Warriors ever winning it all again. They're, to me, at the same place where I would say the Celtics of the early 90s were, when they still had Bird, Parrish, and McHale. They still had their championship core from the 80s, but they were so old that they could only really win against inexperienced teams. When they went against experienced teams in the playoffs, they just couldn't get over that hump. Warriors are at that same place. They will definitely play spoiler for some young team if they face in the first round. They could definitely pull off another upset. I really hope the Spurs don't play them in round one. I think they could take advantage of the Spurs' inexperience like they did to the Rockets last year and the Kings a few years ago. So that's something we'll have to watch for. Hopefully that matchup never happens. Like, I definitely don't think I could sit through a series of the Warriors without losing my mind and just cause my blood pressure to skyrocket because I just hate this team so much. But, they were able to, win this game. They showed their veteran experience and their basketball savvy, and they won this game. So, no excuses about it. Spurs, I think they'll be fine. They'll bounce back. I'm glad this horrible stretch of playing the Warriors is over with, and they'll still win a lot of games. I think this team is still capable of winning 50-some games, but we'll see how things play out. I don't have anything else to say. My final shot is actually, I don't think Curry can maintain this pace, like he's maintained these last two games. He's 37. He's going to turn 38. And I think over a course of a long season, he's going to get burned out by having to have these types of games just for the Warriors to be competitive and win. That's something to look and pay attention to if you're a Warriors fan or just an NBA fan. I think his body's going to break down as the season progresses. So, yeah, that's all I have to say.